Hi, people of God, and welcome back to Keep Your Cookie Fresh. You can't sit your pocketbook just anywhere. This is a continuation of chapter 1, and from where we left off with the last video, we were just kind of getting into the nitty and the gritty of having the real talk and understanding that if we just simply talk about it, you won't surely die. I'm promising you, you won't surely die if you just talk about it. And God knows that we need to talk about it, because whether you that little girl, you need to understand the consequences of engaging in sex, period, let alone premarital sex. And it's going to be a whole lot of reasons that we'll talk about why you shouldn't. But just for the mere fact that this is a heavy duty kind of situation, this whole sex thing, I know your body hormones take over at some point, your curiosity gets the best of you, but this sex thing can be a mind altering experience, and especially for ladies, just because we process the whole act of this thing differently than men do. You know, and a lot of times as young women, or at least for me, I felt like it was a precious gift. I knew it was a gift, and I wanted to share it with somebody that I believed I love and thought maybe they loved me too, but I knew it was a gift and it wasn't for just everybody. So the fact that I wanted to share it with one person, I thought this one person would just automatically understand that and think that, wow, like I thought about it, this is the most awesome and precious gift that I can share with you, and therefore you have to know that I love you, right? Because this is just not something that I share with anybody. And generally, especially with younger people, young men, and we know that men are just kind of, they're slow. It takes them a while to catch up. I'm sorry, men, but that's just the fact of the matter. Developmentally, so men just don't develop at the same rate as women do. Shway. So whether you are that young girl who's engaging for the first time, or you are an old girl with seasoned cookies, sometimes you still haven't learned the lesson that sex can be a mind altering experience. So just stop right here, and especially young girl, stop right here and say, sex can be a mind altering experience. It'll have you run around just gaga. You won't know which way is up, because that's how powerful this thing is, and it can really leave you messed up. And so what we want to do right now is just kind of pause for a moment, and we want to look at what the Bible is actually saying about sex. And the best point of reference that I could find at the time of writing this book was again found in 1 Corinthians. And it's coming again from the Message Bible, just because I think the Message Bible does such a great job of presenting in language that could be universally understood. It takes some of the these and the thous and the those and thou arts out, and it puts it in a perspective verbally, where we can all relate to it and really understand what's being said. So this is what Paul said, Paul the Apostle, in 1 Corinthians 7, 1 and 2. He says, he addresses this issue, to be married or to be single. He says that now, getting down to the questions you ask in your letter to me. First, is it a good thing? Is it a good thing to have sexual relations? Now, this is a question that the Corinthians wrote in a letter to Paul, asking him about sex. So this question of sex is age old. What is it? What should we be doing with it? Should we be doing it or should we not be doing it? They wanted to know. They said, is this something that we should be doing? Is it a good thing to engage in sexual relations? And then, listen, Paul said, certainly, but only within a certain context. He said, it's good for a man to have a wife. It's good for a man to have a wife and for a woman to have a husband. Sexual drives are strong. Say that word with me. Sexual drives are strong. And he says, but marriage is strong enough to contain them and provide for a balanced and fulfilling sexual life in a world of sexual disorder. So he says that it was a good thing to have sex. That's what Paul said. But he said, that because it was such a strong urge that it needed to be done between a man and his wife. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Study to show yourself approved, but when you study, you'll find out that these Corinthians was some horny people. They was freaky. They was just going around having sex everywhere, dropping it like it was hot. And they was, men was sleeping with other men's peoples. They was down with OPP. Let's just put it like that. They were down with OPP. And so somebody wrote a letter to Paul and they wanted to know what's up with this sex thing. And I'm pretty sure it was causing a lot of problems. OPP will do that, right? So they were causing all these problems, and they decided we better write a letter to Paul and ask him, are we wrong? Is this sex thing a good thing for us to be engaging in? And he said, yeah, but y'all need to be married, because as strong as this urge is, marriage is strong enough to contain it. And so marriage helps you so that this thing, because it's a strong urge, people, you won't be running around. You can't be running around just going nilly-willy, dropping it like it's hot all over the place to whoever you want to drop it for. So sexual drives are strong, but the marriage is strong enough to contain them and provide a balanced and fulfilling sexual life in a world of sexual disorder. This was Paul again. He said that sex was strong enough to contain it and to provide a balanced and fulfilling sexual life in a world of sexual disorder. Now, this is the days of the Bible, and there was some sexual disorder. So this issue regarding sex and how it is that we view it and how it all gets put out of hand is nothing new. It was out of hand back then. I told y'all these Corinthians were a bunch of horny toads. They was just having sex all over the place. So it's nothing new, but at least these people were not afraid to talk about it. They put it in a letter and they wrote to Paul and wanted to know. So sometimes we need to be willing to allow people to ask real questions with straight talk, and then be ready to give them a real and straight answer back to it. And we want to tell people, you don't want to just tell people this is what it is and that's what you're supposed to do, because that's how you're supposed to do it. We want to be able to give people clear directions and clear understanding and instructions regarding the things of God. And as it relates to sex, we want to be able to break it down to our young girls and to our young boys why it is that I am in 100% total agreement that you need to wait. It really is. There's a whole lot going on in the world, and the last thing that you need to be dealing with is the goo-goos and the gagas of engaging in sexual relations with the wrong person at the wrong time in your life. So, if we look back on it, we just need to get back to the basics like the Corinthians did. And we just need to start talking about it. The Corinthians were some real people. And they were not afraid to write this letter to Paul. And Paul wasn't so taken aback and aghast by it. As the man of God, Paul was ready and willing to give them an answer, and that's exactly what he did. So Paul's letter to him was about sex and engaging in this thing called sex. And he said that it's so strong. Now, it's so strong that it's to mess some Corinthians up, bickering back and forth, fighting, contention, because of the way they was dropping it like it was hot. And so Paul said, look, get your husband, get your wife, do this thing within the confines of marriage so that y'all won't be going crazy and all over the place fighting. It's a strong thing. And so it's that kind of strong that it needs to be confined and contained between two people. Husbands and wives is what Paul defines it as being. So, hint, hint, ladies, this urge is so strong. It needs to be contained. And it really does. You're going to have to buffet your body. You have urges, you have desires. God gave them to you. However, you want to contain it, because if you let that sexual urge take the steering wheel and start driving, it'll mess you up and have you all over town trying to get it right. With the hit it right. Oh, did I say that? Well, I mean, real talk. You know what I'm talking about, right? So, again, let's just follow these instructions and let's do it within the confines. It's a whole lot of reasons why you can't just be going all over town, leaving cookie crumbs everywhere. It's just not cool. It's really not. So I do know and believe that men ought to be taking notice of this too. You know, one of the problems that I have personally is when women make excuses for men, even in relationships where women are in relationships with one man, one woman, married or non-married. And we always give the man the out and say, well, you know, a man is going to be a man. Well, that ain't what Paul said in the Bible. Paul said that the urge was so strong, he wasn't just addressing women. He said, you need a husband, and husband, you need a wife. So Paul didn't give a gold card or get out of jail free card to men and say, well, it's good for a woman to contain the urge, but that a man should be able to just go around dropping his urge everywhere. He felt the itch at Cookie Monster, Milo cookie. You know, get you one cookie. Decide on your flavor and stick with that flavor, man. Okay? Paul said that. He said it. I didn't make it up. Paul said it was just what was good for the goose was good for the gander. And he wasn't just talking about women. So let's stop giving these men a get out of jail free card. They need to be able to control their urges as much as a woman needs to be able to control her urge. I mean, and really for you to sell yourself short by saying, well, he just being a man. Nah, that's not biblical. That's not of God. So let's stop giving these men a get out of jail free card. And then know something about yourself, you know. You deserve better than that. So stop just letting that be an excuse and going around saying that it's okay for him to basically do what he want to do. So, in all likelihood and historically, it was a man that wrote the letter, just because we know that historically in the biblical days that women didn't really have a voice for the most part. Women weren't allowed to speak up and speak out in religious sets and settings, and in most cases for a long time weren't even allowed into those settings. So this man wanted to know, Paul, is it okay? This sex thing, should we be doing it? So Paul addressed it. And you better know that some men are just as confused as women are when it comes to sex. You know, they want you to believe that they got it all together, and in most cases, well, some of y'all know, y'all find out that they really don't have it together. But don't worry, man. You won't never understand the true process of it because y'all was asleep when he made us, you know. So there's a lot of things about this woman that a man ain't never going to be able to understand. So women, really, we do have a greater responsibility because we're the bearers or the keepers of the cookies. And again, people are only going to respect you as much as you demand respect from them. So when it comes to men, know your cookies. They're your cookies. They want the cookies. If you eager to give the cookies up, you know, your mama probably said it all the time, especially some older women know that ain't no man gonna buy the cow if he can get the milk for free. The same thing still holds true. Some of y'all younger people are saying you can't make a hoe into a housewife, you know. And men buy all into that. And it's all great and good. And seeing you think you can go around and drop some crumbs and shake your booty here and shake your booty there. And yeah, they're enticing. A cookie monster will eat a cookie, okay? But a cookie monster ain't finna take some used dough home and be trying to, you know, bake it up and serve it to the people that are important in his life. He sweeps the crumbs under the rug in most really important cases, and that's what you're going to become if you don't take heed to understanding the value of your cookie and why it is that you need to keep it fresh. You're just going to become crumbs under the rugs, and you're so much more than that. You're worth so much more than that. So ladies, let's just take heed with that. Part of the reasons why men have this unearthly thing, shall we say, they don't process information the way we do, and it's no exception to the rule when it comes to our sexuality. We are emotionally attached to the process, where men stick and move. That's all they're doing for the most part. And this is not a male bashing book. It's not a male bashing experience. But a lot of ladies have found that out, and that's just the way a lot of times men are hardwired. A lot of men are hardwired to believe that, you know, if they just put it out there, how can I say no? And so what you got to learn how to do, girlfriend, is just stop putting it out there. If he want it bad enough, he'll wait for it. You know what Beyonce said, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. So make him wait. It'll be it's well worth the wait, not just for you, but for him too, because that's what men do. They're hunters. And so once they catch their prey, they're all done with it, and they're on looking for the next hunt. It wasn't that what he was hunting in you wasn't the right stuff to be hunting. It's just like a hungry lion. Once he gets it, he moves on to the next prey. So keep that in mind. Keep that in your pocketbook before you decide to just rush in and be putting your cookies all out there. Don't open your pocketbook just up to everybody that come along just because. Because for one thing, you see, men are making the delivery. And we're the ones that paying the COD for it, the cash on delivery. You might not be paying monetarily, but you're going to pay for it in the long run. And how much sense does that make? You're going to deliver, he's delivering a package to you, and you picking up the tab for it emotionally. You're going to pick up the tab for it spiritually. And then he's going to take his package and he's going to move on and leave you in a state of gaga. So, ironically enough, again, we're paying the COD to get our own delivery. Paul was not afraid to address this issue because I believe he knew firsthand, and he himself had been messed up with a casual relationship and sex with somebody. Casual sex is still leaving a whole lot of us just messed up. That's what Paul was talking about, casual sex, leaving people messed up. It needs to be contained. It's such a strong urge. You got to contain that thing within a partnership of a husband and a wife. Though the power of the cookie can be a powerful thing indeed, many women sometimes overestimate the value of the cookies. Now, I know we all like to think that our cookies, my cookie, your cookie, is the most special kind of cookie that's out there. And some of us are thinking that everybody want my cookies. Well, guess what? The monster who love cookies don't care if it's your cookie, my cookie, your mama cookie, your sister, your friend cookie. He just like cookies. And if you take it out the pocketbook and lay it out there for him, guess what he gonna do? He gonna take the cookie. And it wasn't cause your cookie was so special. He ain't got no discriminating taste, this cookie monster. He just love cookies. So he gonna partake of it every time you put it out there. So let's not make that fatal mistake of thinking that the cookie is so special that this is how we're gonna get a man and keep a man. He ain't that into, I'm sorry. He just ain't that into your cookie. It ain't nothing that special about your cookie to the monster who love cookies that yours is special enough to keep him. He gonna always be looking for the next cookie. So, what you need to know is that we've made a fatal error in assuming that the cookie is our value. We are so much more than our cookies, ladies. We were made and loved by a sovereign God who filled us up with so much more, with so many other things that are well beyond our cookies. And the cookie should be the last thing that a man discovers about who we are, about our value in terms of who God made us to be. The fearful and the wonderful ain't in the cookie. Yep, ain't in. It ain't in the cookie. It ain't in the pocketbook. The fearful and the wonderful is in the time that God took to lay out the blueprints for who we ultimately become in life as women of God. Our strong character, the fact that we have character, the fact that we have some value within ourselves is what makes us so special. And if you haven't been in a situation where you've had somebody that really loved you and valued you for who you were long before they got to desire your cookie, then I just pray that you would get to know that one day, that all of us get to know that someday. Your gifts are within yourself, and if you leave those gifts there, the gift can ultimately be in the pocketbook. But let's just leave it there, unless we want men to be able to look at us and see and value us in the same manner that, God presented Eve to Adam, and when he first saw her, he was so taken aback by her that all he could say was, "Whoa, man," And so even before they were admonished to engage in knowing each other for the purpose of reproducing, there was an intrinsic value that God had put into a woman that attracted a man. And so that's what we want to let that light shine, so that when a man approaches us, he's not drawn to our cookies, although ultimately that's something we may share with them. That can't be the focus of what draws them to us, and we can't allow that to be the focus. You can just say no. The monster who loves cookies is within a man. They just like cookies. This blue monster who likes cookies, okay? But a good woman, a wife material woman, is hard to find. After the monster who loves cookies has tried every flavor of cookies, there is deep down inside he longs for that one favorite cookie that he doesn't have to share with anybody. So the doggest of men, they like cookies, but at the end of the day, he really does just desire to have that one cookie that he can come home to. And the ingredients in that cookie go far beyond the pocketbook, ladies. It's the character, it's the virtue that God put in you that ultimately attracts and keeps a good man. It's the helper, that helpmate in you, that God endowed you with all of these wonderful things that was really lacking in a man. He put them in you to help that man. And the least of all that he was putting in you to help a man were the cookies. So don't undervalue them, but let's not overvalue them either, so that our relationships become a little easier on us, and they last a little longer when we understand our true value and how it is that we assist a man in being a man. The Bible says in the Message Bible, Jeremiah 17:19, it says, "The heart is hopelessly dark and deceitful. It's a puzzle that no one can figure out." The heart is this boo 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 boo. This little thing that we go boo 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 boo. When we first get that queasy feeling in our stomachs, whether we were that little young girl that saw him for the first time and our hearts went thump thump, and we thought that was love. It had to be, right? Because we never felt that way on the outside before. And so we started to reason that, oh, he's the one and he just makes me feel so whatever he made you feel. And we get lost in those feelings, those emotions of what we think love is. And so this heart is what the Bible is saying can be hopelessly dark and deceitful. First of all, if you believe your cookies are your best asset, then you've been duped by society. You probably have low self-esteem, and your culture or your own hype has convinced you that a way to a man's heart is through your cookies. But I'm trying to tell you, to a lot of men, and not all men, there's some, I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men, to them, a cookie is a cookie is a cookie. And there's some of them out there that got their own cookie and it still ain't enough. They still trying to get enough crumbs together to make another whole cookie somewhere. And so we just have to be careful in how it is that we allow our emotions to come into play as it relates to relationships and what we value about ourselves, and what we ultimately begin to allow others to assess as a value within us beyond who it is that God made us to be. The Lord God said it is good for the man to live alone. It is not good. I'm sorry. It isn't good for a man to live alone. I need to make a suitable partner for him. And this was in Genesis 2:18, and that's found in the Contemporary Living Bible. Say partners, ladies. It is good. It is not good for a man to live alone. I need to make him a suitable partner. So you were designed to be a partner to the man. And if you need to get your dictionary out and understand what it is regarding a partner and what a partner is and how a partner plays a role in a relationship, I would advise you to pause for the cause and get a dictionary and understand what a partner is. So let us digress. Let's say that you were in business for yourself and you were looking for a partner.